Hello, welcome to Chapter Book Storytime. I'm Ellen from EVPL Oakland, and on today's edition of the Variety Pack, I have a book that is making me happy and sad at the same time. The book is Mr. Lemoncello-'s Fantabulous Finale by Chris Grabenstein. Now, I'm happy because it's a great book and I really want you to know about it and want to read it to you. It's going to be fun to read. But I'm also sad because, as it says, it's his fantabulous finale. It's his last book. This is the last book in the series of Mr. Lemoncello and his library. So I thought it was fitting to read the last book because Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library was one of the first books we read for Chapter Book Storytime a long time ago, about 5 or 6 years ago. So I'm really happy to present the last one, but I'm a little sad at the same time. So let's get started. Mr. Lemoncello's Fantabulous Finale. It starts with a notice or an advertisement. Who wants to be a bazillionaire? Say, kids, how'd you like to be like me, but without the itchy mustache? How would you like to inherit my entire empire and fill my banana shoes? After spraying them, of course, with that stuff they have at the bowling alleys. Well, if you'll be 13 this year, make sure you visit MrLemoncello.com right away and sign up for a chance to win a titanium ticket. These heavy metal ducats will grant you admission to the ultimate game and the chance to win everything I currently own, including the Imagination Factory, where we dream up and design wonderous games, the GameWorks Factory, where we make them, the Lemoncello Land Amusement Park, opening soon, the Lemoncello Library in Alexandriaville, Ohio, my Bootmobile, several high-tech top hats, various costumes, the aforementioned banana shoes, and a dozen pairs of lemon-scented underpants. There will be one big winner. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. The contest is open to all children who are or will be 13 years old this year, except Charles Chiltington. No one named Chiltington shall henceforth and henceforth be allowed to ruin a game for everybody else. Act now! Supplies are limited, so are exclamation points. See, I already ran out of those. With warm regards, because I just popped them into the toaster oven, Luigi L. Lemoncello. Mr. Lemoncello's Fantabulous Finale. Chapter 1. Luigi L. Lemoncello was ready to give away everything, his entire empire, and Kyle Keeley was eager to win it all. In TV ads, posters, billboards, and social media posts, Mr. Lemoncello asked the same question over and over. Who wants to be a bazillionaire? Me, was Kyle's response every time he heard or saw the question. Me. Kyle had just turned 13, so he was officially eligible for the big final game. He'd also already earned his titanium ticket because after Mr. Lemoncello's Library Olympics, he became a member of the Lemoncello Library's Board of Trustees. The other 32 members of that board were all entitled to TTs too, if they wanted them. But Kyle knew that none of them wanted to win Mr. Lemoncello's grand prize more than he did. He was obsessed with it, the way he had been obsessed with Mr. Lemoncello's wacky games his whole life. To be the one in charge of making all that fun was all he could think about, even while he was giving his great Aunt Margaret a tour of Mr. Lemoncello's library in downtown Alexandriaville, Ohio. What are those? His aunt asked. What are what? Said Kyle, because he'd been distracted, happily imagining himself as the new Luigi L. Lemoncello. Those floating platforms. His great aunt pointed at the 3-story tall wall of fiction with the umbrella she was, for some strange reason, carrying indoors. She was also wearing 2 clunky strings of beads the size of gumballs, a sequin cap decorated with plastic flowers, and a monocle. Oh, said Kyle, those are the hover ladders. They take you up to whatever book you're looking for. They also have a browse feature, so you can bounce around. That's what I mostly do, bounce around. Kyle's great aunt Margaret, Maggie Keeley, used to hang out with the young Luigi Lemoncello when they were both kids. She was also Kyle's grandfather's sister. That's why she was his great aunt. Not just because she sent awesome birthday presents all the way from Paris, which she also did. "We never had a library like this," Aunt Maggie said as they strolled across the rotunda reading room. "We had the amazing Mrs. Tobin at the old library on Market Street. This building was the Gold Leaf Bank. The safe deposit boxes were downstairs. Chad Chiltington's father ran the bank." Kyle's ears perked up. "You guys had a Chiltington?" His aunt laughed. "Oh, most kids do, I guess. Anyway, this one summer, Chad and his buddy Jimmy Willoughby tried to make life miserable for us." Kyle's great aunt had never visited Mr. Lemoncello's library. In fact, she hadn't been back to Alexandriaville since she left home right after high school. Legend had it that her eccentric Uncle Clarence, he wasn't a Keeley, had given her a tremendous gift that paid for her to study fashion in New York City, London, and Paris. Now she was a famous designer known all over the world by one name, Marguerite. And even though she had never returned to her hometown, some of her creations had. She secretly designed most of Mr. Lemoncello's flamboyant costumes. "Let's check out the gift shop," she said. "I want to see how my new puzzle shirt worked out." "Puzzle shirt?" "Hello," she said. "It's a Lemoncello. Even the souvenir t-shirts need to be puzzles." Chapter 2. "Over this way," said Kyle. He and his Aunt Maggie strode across the rotunda reading room. Kyle couldn't help but notice all the kids, most of whom looked to be his age, lined up at the desks. They were patiently waiting their turn to use the library's computers and super-fast free Wi-Fi to enter the titanium ticket competition. Kyle and his aunt exited the rotunda, crossed through the marble entry hall with its statue of Mr. Lemoncello spouting water in a gurgling arc, and stepped into the newly opened gift shop. The room was stuffed with displays of what Kyle called merch. Lemon and cello magnets, mugs featuring Mr. Lemoncello's mug, his whiskers curled upward when you poured a hot beverage. There were 3D postcards, talking bobblehead dolls, hoodies, mountains of Lemoncello board games, and, on a pair of mannequins, 2 Lemoncello ringer tees with rainbow-colored letters spelling out, well, I'll show you what it is because it's really not a word. See there? That's what's on the shirt. "Clever," said Kyle after studying the letters for a minute. "You used a shifted alphabet code. Every letter is 1 letter off." "It's my artistic tribute to Luigi, and really me too, I guess. All our lives, people have told us that we are a little off." Kyle watched a fuzzy fake feather drift away from his aunt's billowy pink boa. Yes, she definitely was different, but in a fun way. "So," said Kyle, ready to solve the t-shirt puzzle, N equals M, and S equals R, because you shifted up the alphabet 1 letter. NS dot MFNPOD FMMP apostrophe T MJCSBSZ is code for Mr. Lemoncello's library. "Well done, Kyle." "Thanks." Something on a shelf near the cash registers caught his aunt's eye. "Whoa, this brings back memories." She picked up a small wooden box, a 5-inch cube with an angled roof and a small flapping slot. "It's just a model of the sidewalk book return box," explained Kyle. "Maybe, maybe not." Aunt Maggie rotated the purple cube a few times and then finally saw something. A hidden button in the far corner of the bottom panel. She poked it, and the box's top popped open. "It's a puzzle box," said Kyle. "Of course it is. Luigi and his design team would never build an ordinary souvenir when they could create one that was extraordinary. Look at all the tiny treasures hidden inside. A dozen miniature books, several little bitty DVDs, even a dollhouse-sized model of a Clue board game." Kyle nodded, but he wasn't really paying attention. His gaze had drifted up to one of the several screens hanging on the walls of the gift shop. Mr. Lemoncello had just appeared. Who wants to be a bazillionaire? He asked, waving his arms like a used car dealer. Because you, yes, you, right here in my gift shop, you could be the lucky winner of everything in my entire empire, including all of this merchandise. Why, you'll never need to buy another souvenir t-shirt or water bottle again because you'll already own them all. Don't delay, enter today. Win a titanium ticket and you will advance to the final round where you'll be playing for all the marbles. Literally, we make lots of marbles, folks. And, thought Kyle with a confident grin, I'm gonna win every single one of them. Chapter 3. Prepare to be impressed, Buffy, said the TV reporter. I'm here in Hudson Hills, New York, home of Mr. Lemoncello's amazing GameWorks factory with the first 2 titanium ticket winners, Simon Scrindle and Soraya Mitchell. Actually, said Soraya, the first to be awarded titanium tickets were the 33 members of the Lemoncello Library Board of Trustees in Ohio. She gave the TV camera a bright smile. We don't know how many of them will want to use those tickets to compete against Simon and me. Probably Kyle Keeley, said Simon, rubbing the top of his scruffy buzz cut because he didn't know what else to do with his hands. Soraya was calm and cool in front of the TV cameras. Simon was the opposite. They made a good team. He always felt better when Soraya was next to him. He figured everybody did. Soraya was just that kind of person. Kyle Keeley is the top gamer from Mr. Lemoncello's hometown, Chip, Soraya explained to the TV reporter. There are some other very formidable opponents on the Lemoncello Library Board, too. Simon nodded. We made a chart. We like to work with data and analytics, added Soraya. I like to build stuff, too, said Simon. His thoughts drifted back to the automatic coffee cream dispenser he'd been tinkering with in the kitchen that morning for his grandpa. It needed a few more rubber bands and a funnel, maybe a paper clip. The reporter smiled politely. Now, as I understand it, you both won your titanium tickets at the big GameWorks company picnic? Yes, Chip, said Soraya. We played an unbelievably difficult game in Mr. Lemoncello's new museum. It's a shiny building behind the factory, added Simon. Now, said Soraya, we're advancing to the final round. This time, if we win, we'll wind up owning the factory and the museum. And all of Mr. Lemoncello's marbles, too, said Simon. He has lots of marbles. But, said the reporter, you're children. Actually, said Soraya, we are teenagers. We're both 13, said Simon. Are you really ready to inherit Mr. Lemoncello's entire empire? Asked the reporter. It's worth trillions. Well, it's not going to happen right away, said Soraya. Mr. Lemoncello will be around for at least another decade, maybe 2. Besides, said Simon, Kyle Keeley will probably win. He always wins all the Lemoncello games. Nuh-uh, said Soraya. He and Akemi Hughes couldn't solve that big puzzle at the factory like we did, remember? Oh, that's right. Technically, we beat them. I guess we'll just have to do it again, said Soraya. She held up her palm and Simon slapped her a high five. Go team, said Soraya. Simon smiled. But inside, he knew the truth. Eventually, he and Soraya would have to split up. One of them would have to beat the other one. Because Mr. Lemoncello had said repeatedly that this time there would only be one big winner. Xing you out, Chip and Buffy, said Gloria Ortega as she thumbed the remote. Bye-bye now. The screen went dark. Why'd you turn it off? Asked Gloria's best friend and business partner, P.T. Wilkie. They were in the lobby of the Wonderland Motel in St. Pete Beach, Florida. Gloria and her father, a sports reporter at a local TV station, were extended stay residents at the Wonderland. P.T.'s mother managed the motel, which her father, P.T.'s grandfather, had opened as a resort and small-time amusement park called Walt Wilkie's Wonder World back in the 1970s, right before that other Walt opened Disney World in Orlando. The small motel had struggled ever since. But thanks to the promotions P.T. dreamed up and Gloria's business smarts, things were looking better. The no vacancy sign was lit all the time. Kids were cannonballing in the pool. Burgers were sizzling on the grill. Putts were being sunk in the motel's mini golf course. "I saw a story about this big Lemoncello giveaway on CNBC," said Gloria. There was nothing she loved more than watching shows on the business-focused cable network. She was already on her way to becoming the next teenage mega tycoon. Well, she hoped she was. "We both qualify for the competition," she said. "We're both 13. "But do we want to enter?" asked PT. "What? Hello, Mr. Lemoncello is going full Willy Wonka and James Halliday. How could we not want to enter?" "Well, I know Willy Wonka gave away his chocolate factory," said PT, "but who's Halliday?" "The genius game maker in Ready Player One. He gives away his $500 billion fortune in a contest. Now Lemoncello is going to give away his whole gazillion-dollar business to somebody with a titanium ticket. We should enter." "No, Gloria, you should enter. I need to stay here and run the Wonderland." "But you're a showman, PT. Remember that time you did that whole comedy routine with the frog slide?" PT grinned proudly. How could I? How could I, or anyone, forget that? "You're just like Mr. Lemoncello. Sure, he needs my brain for business, but he needs your wacky ideas. You're the sizzle for my steak." "True, no one has wackier ideas than me. Just ask my math teacher. But you've heard what everybody's saying. There will only be one big winner." "I think it needs to be you, Gloria. I need to stay here. The Wonderland needs me. I have a great idea for a new burping alligator attraction. Plus, I want to stay here and look out for Mom and Grandpa. They're not getting any younger, especially Grandpa." "Are you sure?" "Yeah. Did you see all those candles on his ice cream cake?" "I'm serious, PT. Are you sure you want me to enter without you?" "Positive. In fact," PT handed his phone to Gloria, "I already started filling out your entry form." Gloria smiled, and then she finished filling in all the information. She was going for it. She was going to win a titanium ticket. Chapter 5. "Maybe we can squeeze in a quick game before Coach Quincy shows up," said Kyle. He fanned open a deck of face-down cards in front of his friends, fellow 8th graders Akimi Hughes, Miguel Fernandez, Sierra Russell, and Andrew Peckelman. They were all in their gym clothes waiting for their PE teacher. "Oh, what are those?" whined Andrew, tightening the strap on his goggle-sized athletic glasses. "Rebus flashcards," said Kyle. "I thought we should practice for the final round of the big game." Kyle flipped over a puzzle card. Here it is. There's the puzzle card. "Kyle," said Akimi, "do you seriously think Mr. Lemoncello is going to give his empire away to whatever 13-year-old kid can solve the most puzzles?" Akimi had been Kyle's best friend since kindergarten. She'd been busting his chops since then, too. "Yes, Akimi," said Kyle, "I think games will be very important in this final round." Akimi looked doubtful. "What does solving a rebus puzzle have to do with running a business?" "What's the matter, Akimi?" Kyle asked. "Do you need a hint?" "I do," said Sierra. She was a serious bibliophile. She spent more time with the books in Mr. Lemoncello's library than the games. Maybe even more than the librarians did. "I don't need a hint," said Miguel. Kyle, Miguel, Sierra, Akimi, and their friend Haley Daly, who was now a big star in Hollywood, had been the winner of Mr. Lemoncello's first library escape game. In that same game, Andrew had become an unfortunate pawn for Team Kyle's rival, Charles Chiltington. Luckily, Andrew had redeemed himself since. "So what's the answer?" Kyle challenged Miguel. "Simple," said Miguel. "What goes up must come down." Here, I'll show it to you. Take another look. What goes up must come down. I love these puzzles. "Bravo, Miguel," said a super snooty voice. "Bravo." Charles Chiltington strutted into the gym. He clapped slowly. He was the only one with striped athletic socks, hiked up to his knees. I find that to be a very apt expression for you five, said Charles, looking down his nose at the others. Sure, you're flying high now, but trust me, none of you has what it takes to run a multinational conglomerate. Ha! Laughed Akimi. And you do? Let's just say I'm more comfortable around great wealth than you fools. But, said Akimi, you're the only 13-year-old kid in America who is totally banned from entering the next round of the titanium ticket competition. It's in the official rules, said Andrew. No Chiltingtons allowed. Charles scoffed. Oh, because Mr. Lemoncello knows that Chiltingtons never lose. Oh, yes, they do, said Andrew. Well, you do. You've lost like 5 times now. Not that we've been keeping score, said Kyle. A shrill whistle sounded. Coach Quincy marched into the gym floor, dribbling a dodgeball. So, who's moving up to the next bracket, he asked. Who's cashing in their titanium ticket and going for the gold? Me, said Kyle, thrusting up his hand. I might, said Sierra, especially if the winner inherits Mr. Lemoncello's library. I'm a hard pass, said Miguel. Ditto, said Akimi. Kyle was shocked to hear it. What? Why? We already won full scholarships in the Library Olympics, said Miguel. And frankly, said Akimi, becoming the CEO of a game company isn't exactly my dream career. Mine either, said Miguel. Well, it sure is mine, said Kyle. But, said Charles, from what I hear, Keeley, you hardly stand a chance. Those 2 factory workers' children in upstate New York already outdid you when they won their titanium tickets. They did, admitted Kyle, remembering how Simon and Soraya had figured out the puzzle that he and Akimi couldn't. Guess we shouldn't have helped them, said Akimi. Whoa now, said Coach Quincy. We all do better when we work together. A flower doesn't think about competing with the flower next to it. It just blooms. True, said Akimi, but the flower isn't trying to win a gazillion-dollar company either. Coach Quincy shook his head. He pointed to another inspirational message posted on the gym's cinder block walls. Your biggest opportunity isn't the other guy, he read off the poster. It's who you see in the mirror. Of course, Coach Quincy had never met 13-year-old Bettina Flores from Los Angeles, California. Chapter 6. Follow my lead, everybody, cried Bettina Flores, brandishing a wooden spoon. It's xylophone time. She cleared off a space on the kitchen table and lined up 7 glasses each one filled with a different amount of water. The last glass was empty. This would be her improvised xylophone. For pizzazz, Bettina had plunked a few drops of food coloring into the water glasses to create a rainbow running from red to purple with all the colors in between. Her hair matched the water in the middle glass. It was green. She was ready to entertain her younger sisters and brothers and half a dozen cousins, all of whom had been sent into the kitchen to start cleaning up after a big Kamiyan finger food feast. Everybody in Bettina's large, extended Filipino family had brought something to share. That meant the kitchen was a disaster area, filled with bowls and Tupperware containers and dirty serving utensils. When the music gets faster, said Bettina, quickly plinking the purple, blue, and green glasses with the spoon, we clean faster. When the music slows down, we slow down and clean in slow motion. She plunked the yellow, orange, and red glasses. They had more water in them, so their notes were lower. You guys ready? Ready, shouted all the kids in the kitchen. Bettina played a peppy version of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, racing up and down her rainbow-colored xylophone of water glasses. The kids dashed around the kitchen, grabbing platters or crushing empty cans for the recycling bin, or wiping down counters where sticky rice and even stickier sauces had spilled. When she slowed down her tune, the action slowed down too. It was as if everybody were trapped in a slow-mo underwater movie. The only thing that didn't slow down was the laughter, which grew even louder when Bettina plinked her water glass xylophone fast, then slow, then fast again. Bettina had turned the work into a game. Everybody was having a blast. Well, everybody except Bettina's big sister Maria, who just stepped into the kitchen and had her arms folded across her chest. She rolled her eyes. Maria, like all of Bettina's older brothers and sisters, was a super serious student. She was going to be a brain surgeon when she grew up, either that or a rocket scientist. Maybe both. She might even be the first brain surgeon on Mars. "What's all this?" asked Martha. "These guys were bored," Bettina explained, "so I made up a game." "Always with the games. You should spend more time studying, Bettina. Make something out of yourself. Quit being such an oddball." Bettina sighed. What was it about big sisters? Some could be great, but others? Well, of course, Bettina had heard this before. Many, many times, at home and at school, where she was the class clown. She was also the star anchor for the middle school's morning announcements, broadcast live from the TV studio in the library. "This just in," she said the following Monday morning after she and Tommy Brennan had finished doing the weather and cafeteria specials for the day. "All the number 2 soft lead pencils in Mr. Spear's math class are already planning their summer vacation." "Oh, really?" said Tommy, who was used to setting up Bettina's goofy jokes. "Where are they going?" "Why, Pennsylvania, of course. Thank you, I'm here all week. You should be too. There are no school holidays this week, unless you count Taco Tuesday." Tommy tried not to laugh. "Okay, folks," Bettina said to the camera, "here is today's Bettina Brainbuster. You're driving a city bus. At the first stop, 5 people get on. At the second stop, 1 woman gets off and 2 men get on. At the third stop, 3 children get on. The bus is blue and yellow. It's raining outside. What color is the bus driver's hair?" "Oh, that's a tough one," said Tommy. "Well, Tommy, while you think about it, let me admire your gorgeous black hair." "Wait a second. You said I was the bus driver." "Indeed I did. That means the answer is black. My hair is black." "Exing!" shouted Bettina, because she liked the way the words she just made up sounded. She pulled the tab on a popping party streamer that she'd stashed under the anchor desk. Confetti and curly paper fluttered into the air. "We'll see you tomorrow," Tommy said to the camera. "We might also see you at lunch," added Bettina, "or in the hall, or in class, or maybe the bathroom." "We're clear," called the librarian, Miss Sarah Casey. "Great job, Tommy," said Bettina. "Same to you. You're so funny. And all those brain teasers, you remind me of Mr. Lemoncello." Bettina laughed. She'd actually heard that before. She liked to think of herself as a one-of-a-kind, 100% original. But if she was going to be compared to anyone, Luigi L. Lemoncello was a pretty great choice. "Tommy is right, Bettina," said Mrs. Casey, propping open a laptop. "You remind me of Mr. Lemoncello, too, which is why I took the liberty of starting to fill this out for you." "What is it?" "Your application for the titanium ticket contest. I've been following Mr. Lemoncello and his games for decades. I think you're the perfect person to take over his whole wacky world." We're going to skip ahead to Chapter 8, in which Mr. Lemoncello is in a meeting where his staff is briefing him on the progress of the titanium ticket competition. Beaming, Mr. Lemoncello looked around the room at his happy team members. "Now then, how many 13-year-olds have signed up for the competition thus far?" 3,495,202, sir, said Ronna Ernest, Mr. Lemoncello's chief accountant. She tapped the screen of her laptop to refresh the totals. "Sorry, make that 203. 4. Oopsie, 6. "Thank you for that real-time update, Ronna." He turned to Christine Yen, the brilliant and rather tall head of the Information Technology Department. "Are the algorithms doing their job, Christine?" "Yes, sir," reported Yen. "Our data collection parameters should help us find the person we're looking for." "Ah," said Mr. Lemoncello, "that is the question. What am I looking for besides my spare bow tie?" "According to the agreed-upon search filters," said Yen, "we want someone who is 13 years of age and qualified to inherit your entire empire, including your banana shoes and assorted balloons." "Correct! For I was 13 when, thanks to the marvelous Professor Marvelmus, I found my true calling. Plus, I still have another decade or 2 of zaniness left in me. We'll want our new chairperson of the board games to go to college and apprentice in various company departments before they inherit my crown, metaphorically speaking. I am keeping my real crown. My dentist cemented it in rather tightly." "So," said Max. That's Max Cacciadorian, Mr. Lemoncello's lawyer. "How will we know when the new you when we see them, Luigi?" What we're seeking is someone who loves games, and puzzles, and books, and libraries, of course. They should also be a show person with panache and pizzazz. Perhaps a marketing maven as well, or a business whiz. Maybe even a ruthless tycoon. Boo! Said everyone around the table. No one at the Imagination Factory liked ruthlessness or tycoons. I second that, Boo, said Mr. Lemoncello, but the question remains. Who exactly am I looking for? That's a big, big question, Luigi, said his lawyer. Well, when I have questions, big, small, or in between, I know one place that has all the answers. Mr. Lemoncello bopped the lid of his top hat to activate his intercom connection. Yes, sir, said a tinny voice from the speaker sewn into the lining. Christopher, kindly grab my Ohio go bag and fire up the banana jet. It's time for me to escape to Mr. Lemoncello's library. Chapter 9. Failure is not an option, Teddy, said Charles Chiltington. Our family's honor depends on you gaining access to this titanium ticket competition. Charles had flown to New York City with his mother to meet with his cousin Teddy Willoughby. Mrs. Chiltington had been a Willoughby before she married Charles's father. Susanna Willoughby Chiltington and her son Charles had been trying to destroy Mr. Lemoncello ever since the batty bazillionaire first came home to Ohio to build his ridiculous library. But truth be told, Charles and his mother had failed. In fact, they had failed miserably. Mr. Lemoncello and his library were more popular than ever, and now, thanks to his previous antics, Charles was officially barred from entering Mr. Lemoncello's titanium ticket competition. It was in the rules. But if Charles couldn't enter the competition, his cousin Teddy, who was a Willoughby, could. And if the Lemoncello Company ended up in the Willoughby family, Charles, with help from his mother, could find a way to snatch it away from cousin Teddy. First order of business, shut down Mr. Lemoncello's ludicrous library. Second item on the to-do list, sell off all the various parts of Mr. Lemoncello's vast empire and invest the money with a Swiss bank where they give you free cocoa. Teddy and his family lived in a very stylish apartment on Manhattan's Upper East Side. It was filled with so many oil paintings and statues it could have been a museum. Teddy's father, Charles's Uncle Theodore, was quite a collector. He was CEO of the renowned Willoughby Investments, a firm that had been started by Charles's grandfather, James Jimmy Willoughby, who was now retired and living on Long Island. We're all counting on you, Teddy, said Charles. You could win this thing. Teddy shrugged. Whatever. I guess your dad hasn't enjoyed watching you lose, huh? How many games is it at now, Charles? 3? 4? Charles took a deep, cleansing breath, just like his stress management coach had told him to. I did not lose, Teddy. I was cheated out of what was rightfully mine. I was ahead in all those competitions until I wasn't. And then you lost, right? Said Teddy. When you weren't ahead anymore? Charles swallowed as much rage as he could, but then he exploded. I'll show them all. We're going to win a titanium ticket yet, Teddy, and then you and I will take over Mr. Lemoncello's entire enterprise. You and I? Said Teddy, arching an eyebrow. As in, you and me? Yes, said Charles, attempting to calm down. Together, there's nothing we Chiltingtons and Willoughbys cannot do. But you will need me in your quest, Teddy. I know how Mr. Lemoncello thinks. I know his weaknesses. Is it so? Yes, and my mother says you have to help me, or she's going to have a stern word with your father, who just happens to be her baby brother. Teddy smiled. Chill, Charles. I'm already in. Excuse me. I'm already in the game. I'm competing for a titanium ticket. You are? How? Teddy shrugged again. Dad pulled a few strings. He's tight with Max Catchadorian. Max who? Catchadorian. He's Mr. Lemoncello's lawyer. So that sneaky Charles Chiltington found a way to cheat and get into the game with his cousin Teddy. Do you think he'll win? Do you think he can really take down Mr. Lemoncello? Well, to find out, you can read Mr. Lemoncello's fantabulous finale, I wonder who will be the winner. There's only one, you know, one big winner. So we say goodbye to the Mr. Lemoncello series by Chris Grabenstein, but in the meantime, there will be so much fun, so many puzzles, so many balloons. This has been Chapter Book Storytime. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.